1924. Okay? So I brought these up in court a couple of years ago before Judge Collins. Oh no, he said, this doesn't have to be laid, Mr. Clohessy. No, you're all wrong, blah, blah, blah. So I tried to correct him, his misrepresentation of the law, by a motion. He wouldn't allow it. He went on to deliver judgment. Anyways, I wanted to show something here. It may be on... oh yeah. So I did a little more digging after Collins basically bad-mouthing me and trying to tell me I didn't know the law and that my facts were all wrong. So what did I find? Lo and behold, I found a letter dated the 18th of June, 1924. Okay? Okay, and here's what it says. It's to the clerk of the Daw, and it says, Ministers and Secretaries Act, 1924. I have to transmit herewith to be laid before the Daw, pursuant to Section 13 of the Ministers and Secretaries Act, 1924, copies of an order made by the Executive Council entitled the Ministers and Secretaries Act 1924, Commencement Order 1924, number 4 of 1924. A similar communication is being sent to the clerk of the Shawnee. Okay? So, if there was an order, where is the order? If there was a real commencement order, not a draft, where is it? Why would they, a couple of years ago, have to go to the trouble of getting an extract? And Section 13 does not say you can put an extract. It says it can only be the order, right? They don't want to see what someone else wrote, or they want to see, you know, the mother document, okay? So, now, a little bit before they made the Ministers and Secretaries Act, they were debating as to whether it should come into operation or not. So, here's an extract from the Executive Council minutes on the 2nd of 5th, 1924. This now is 28 days before that commencement order, which is the 30th of May, 1924. So, it says here, the question of an order to be issued by the Executive Council under Section 20 of the Ministers and Secretaries Act, 1924, bringing the Act into operation was considered. In view of the fact that the provisions of this subsection were designed to prevent any financial complications which might arise were the Act to come automatically into operation, decision in the matter was postponed pending a report and a recommendation from the Minister for Finance. So they never had an intention of enacting this immediately on the day that they made the order. So Section 20 there. I'm just letting people know that this whole thing affects the writing of this declaration. And this is why the three organs of the government are not lawfully nor constitutionally established. Okay, so just bear this little bit in mind. I decided just to stop there a bit and let people get a feel for, yes, there has to be a document that gives power, right? In other words, power for, say, power for this Bertie Ahern to sign the Lisbon Treaty. His power only comes through the Constitution in Article 14, which says that the President can delegate, but it has to be done by law. In other words, by valid law. Nearly every article in the Constitution, an action to be carried out by the article, it has to be done by law, which is statutory law. The Constitution itself cannot create statute law. It is the legislature and ministers then, legislature creates primary law and ministers create secondary law, which is statutory instruments like these commencement orders or EU regulations that are transposed. So here we have Bertie Ahern signing, and it says, for the President of Ireland. In other words, he's empowered by the Ministers and Secretaries Act. He's not. He has no power because the Act has never been validly commenced and enforced. And if you look at every single piece of legislation from that time up to this time that has a reserved commencement order, it will cite their power under the Ministers and Secretaries Act as the mechanism for them to be allowed to either sign a statutory instrument or, in this case, a treaty. There it is. There's Bertie Ahern and Dermot Ahern signed twice. Okay? Yeah. So, and I won't go back and touch on this again, but I did write to the Minister for Housing, Darrell O'Brien, in relation to the last election. I said, look, you don't have any power to issue this election order because the election order of 1963 is invalid. It was commenced by the Ministers and Secretaries Act. Therefore, it's invalid. So I'll just add there, because the 1963 Act is invalid, that Act gave the provision for the registration of political parties. So as it stands now, all political parties are not validly registered. The parties may be formed, but they're not validly registered. Okay? Now, I'll stop there.
So have we ever had a valid government?
Yeah.
In what period would that have been then?
All right, let me explain to that. You'll understand why we have a valid government. Now, I'll just finish off now with one more document in relation to everything that I've said there about an invalid power. I found this document, I believe I phoned Andrew about maybe 12 months ago or whatever I said. You'll never believe what I found. I found a document written in the 30th of August, it's written in Irish, Lunasa, 1941. And what this says is basically, we've been doing things and we haven't been caught out. But if someone should present this evidence in court, we're in trouble. Right? Okay? So here's what this is written between Philip O'Donoghue in the Attorney General's office and somebody in the, I believe, the Taoiseach's office. So it says, Secretary, following our recent conversation about the preparation of vellum copies of government orders and their insertion in the government minutes, I discussed the matter with Mr. Philip O'Donoghue. Mr. O'Donoghue agrees that the document at present inserted in the minutes is not the order made by the government, but a copy thereof.